Okay, bueno, good afternoon. Good evening. Good afternoon. So, um, how you guys doing?
Good, thank you.
Good evening.
Okay, thank
Yes,
you.
good evening, good evening.
Okay, so we are back. We're gonna continue with this chapters. Pretty soon it's gonna be over, and you're gonna move to the next one, until we finish with all these chapters and you're ready to go do your internship. Well, some of you are going to be going to the internship pretty soon. So that's good. So we're going to get over the classes that are still pending. And that is it. That's all we want, right? To get over all these classes and start working and start making some money. Well, that's what I did when I went to the school. Okay, so today we are going to continue with the reproductive system. Very, very interesting system. We are familiar with a lot of stuff that is related to the reproductive system. We're going to talk about the organs, the structures of the male and female reproductive system, its functions, and certain conditions that happens when these structures or organs or systems are not doing the work that was intended to begin with. So whenever it does not work in our system, in our body, it's gotta be a problem right there. So we're gonna find out what is it, right? So the most important thing right here is that you're not gonna find out what is the problem with the patient, but at least you're gonna know what parts of the body the patient is having problems with. And remember, these affect us because we also are patients. So when you go to the doctor, you know exactly what the doctor is talking about instead of being wondering and leave the office with the brain of, about to explode, not knowing exactly what's going on with you. Because sometimes, it's a little difficult to explain certain things. So we just go to the basics. But sometimes the basics are not enough. So we have a little more understanding when we deal with our patients or when things happens to us, particularly to the reproductive system. As the word implies, reproductive, we're going to talk about these organs that produce the cells, the hormones that makes all of that makes other things to happen, like becoming pregnant, having babies. So that's basically what it is. So we're going to talk about what are those um, organs that are called the reproductive organs. What are their functions, each one of them, where they're located within the body, and certain conditions that happens to them when they are not working properly. So that is basically what we're going to talk about in this chapter. Reproduction, the ovaries, testicles, the hormones that are produced by females, the males' hormones, the cells, the reproductive cells, the sperm, and the ovum. So that's basically what we're going to talk about. Okay, so in the introduction, we're going to talk about this male and female reproductive system that is connected. Well, the reproductive system, just like any other system, are a set of organs or glands. See, most of the structures that we have within our body, they are considered organs, but not all of them are glands. Some of these organs will be considered glands. Why do we call organs and others we call it glands? Because organs by themselves do not produce hormones, whereas the organs that are called glands, they produce hormones. So that's basically what it is. So any organ that produces hormones is called a gland, but they are organs anyways. It's just that not every single organ produces hormones. So we're going to see those organs that produce hormones. Like, for instance, the heart is an organ, but the heart doesn't produce hormones. The lungs is an organ, but it doesn't produce hormones. The skin is an organ, but it doesn't produce hormones. The blood is an organ, but it doesn't produce hormones. The bones are organs. They don't produce hormones, but they are organs. In order for this organ to be called a gland, they have to produce some type of hormone. And we're going to talk about these glands in particular that produces hormones, and we are going to talk about organs. So those organs, plain and simple organs, because they do not produce hormones. So that's basically what it is. We have sex hormones, males and females sex hormones. So now we're going to talk about which hormones are those and what's the function of these hormones. So for the males and for the females, if we have these sex hormones like estrogen for females and for males, that testosterone. So these hormones are the ones that gives the males and the males characteristics, the females characteristics. So that's basically what it is. So females looks like females. They don't have certain things that the male has. So for instance, a female usually, in general, 98% of the females, they do not have facial hair or chest or back hair like males do. Females don't have to shave the face or the chest. They might have to shave the legs, but these are very tiny hairs. These are not the hairs that we're talking about. The shapes of the female body is different from the male's body. Females have wider hips, have a larger breast. Males do not. So we're talking about, in general, males and females. So don't think about anything else. It's just the normal, the nature, how the person were born, whether male or female. That's basically what we're talking about here. Not talking about any other things that happens after you're born. Whether you want to do whatever with your life, that's a different issue, but we're not talking about that. So that's basically what it is. So some of the things looks totally different from males and females. So that's why we can distinguish who's a male, who's a female, due to these secondary characteristics. And once again, these secondary characteristics are due to these sex hormones. We are going to be talking about a little more detail and where are they produced, these hormones? Exactly which glands are producing these hormones? So that's exactly what we're talking about. So we're going to talk about all these organs and glands that makes up the male and the female's reproductive system. Remember, everything about the reproductive is how we reproduce, how we come about, how a fetus forms, what is it that has to happen within the body, not the external action. No, is just how these sex cells gets together and then form a new life. That's what it's called reproductive. So that's basically what we're going to talk about. So here we have male's reproductive system. As you can see right here on these images, it has to do with this part right here that we're going to be discussing later on. Female as well has this structure right here on the pelvic area, plus the female have the breasts. That is developed differently than the males. We have breasts, but it's not developed as females. So that's basic. And the function is totally different. So we're going to talk about these organs. We're going to know where they are located. What is the function of each one? What do ovaries do? What do testicles do? What do testicles produce? What is the function of the ovaries and the testicles? And whatever they produce, where do they go? Through which channels, which organs are they being transported to leave the body and then, reunite? So that's basically how we are going to be discussing this. And of course, we're going to talk about certain conditions that happens to the male and the female reproductive system. So as any other organs, remember, we have some organs that are known are like the most important ones, if you will. Right here within the male reproductive system and female reproductive system, we're going to talk about these organs that are considered essential and these organs that are considered accessory organs. If you remember the skin, we have some organs that are the main organs, remember, and some accessory organs. So that's basically what it is. We talk about the nervous system as well, with the senses. We have some special senses and we have some general senses, meaning that these essential ones, they must be there in this case for reproduction to happen. If they are not there, you're not going to have reproduction. So accessory organs, they are just secondary structures. Are they important? Yes, they are. But once again, if we don't have these accessory organs, can still reproduction happens? Yes. So that's basically what it is. So we're going to discuss how that happened. Remember, think about you and you put in all these accessories on you. You paint your nails, you put some artificial nails, you put artificial hair, you put, you carry on yourself the purse, you put chains, you put the watch, you carry all those things. Well, those as accessory. Well, yeah, it make you look a little better. Maybe, you need them for other things, but that does not imply that if we remove them, you are incomplete. No, you just adding. That's what it's called accessory. These are things that are added. So we need them, yes, but if they are absent or not working properly, can we still have a way of reproducing or fertilizing that egg? Yes. So that's basically how it works. So essential is something that you must have. Oxygen is essential for us to live. Nutrients is essential. Without them, we cannot survive. Without oxygen, we cannot survive. So there are things that are essentials. Other things we can survive without them. So these essential organs in males are called the testes. Testes means plural. Testes with I means singular. See how things change a little bit, just changing one word. So those testes, we are called them gonads. So medically speaking, when we write down on the patient's medical record, we document gonads instead of testes. So we don't say the testicles, this, no, the gonads. So we can use either or, but gonads are very well used because it's medical terms, remember. Doctors learn that, so we use those terms. But when you talk to your patients, you're not going to talk about gonads. They don't know what it is. And the patient comes to you and they said, oh, I have some problem with my testes. I have a pain in my testes or my testicles for that matter. So the testicles are considered essential organs of a male. That's it, only the testicles. Why? Because the testicles are going to have the prime function for reproduction to happen. So then what will be those accessory organs? That will be the tubes that carries the seminal fluid of the sperm from the testicles to the outside, the external genitalia that we will discuss later on. Those are called ducts or vas deferens or the spermatic cord. So that's basically what it is. So we're going to call it different names because that's how we know and that's how we explain our patients. We can't tell our patients these are called the vas, or you having problems with your vas deferens. They're not going to have no idea. You're having problems with the tube that carries the sperm. So that's basically what we're going to tell them. But we need to know these terms because these are medical terms. And we are enrolled in a course that is medical course, medical program. We're going to have sex glands. Oh, I thought you were talking about the sensual glands. No, sex glands, these are accessory glands that assist the sperm. We will discuss that a little bit later. Sex glands. Well, if I don't have the sex glands, can I still have, can be fertile? Can I be reproductive? Yes. On the external genitalia. We're going to talk about which organs are internal and which organs are external. That's what it's talking about. Yeah. So we're going to talk about all these structures, the essential ones and the accessory ones. Remember, accessory is like working as a part of the team to accomplish a function, to accomplish a task that has to be done without inconvenience, without problems. So we need all the structures, of course. But if these structures are not there, can we still produce the sperm, which is a sex cell, the reproductive sex cell? Yes. These organs are accessory, it has nothing to do with the production or not production of sperm. So that's what's called essential because it's needed. The other ones are accessory. Yes, we need them, but without them, still gonna produce the sperm. So that's how it works. So as we advance in this chapter, you're gonna get a better understanding of the things that I'm saying, okay? So once again, don't think that, oh, okay, all these terms I don't get it. Oh, I'm confused already. No, we have not even started yet. Remember, practice makes perfect. The more that you see it, the more that I talk about these, the more that I put other situations, organs, then the better understanding you're gonna get. So remember, things are not easy. So little by little, you're gonna start making sense, whatever I'm saying. Whenever we put all this together, we just start the chapter. So we're talking about these essential and these accessory organs. So just for you to know, whenever we talk about the male's essential organs, we're talking about the testicles right there. But testicles, we call them gonads or testes. That's it. And then we have these accessory organs that we are going to be talking about in more detail as we move forward with this chapter. So don't panic yet. Okay, so as I mentioned before, these are essential organs, which are the testes. We're going to talk about its structures, meaning what it's made of. And we are going to talk about where it's located. Remember, very important. Sometimes it sounds like, oh, well, that's obvious. I know where they're located. Oh, yeah. Do we know all these structures where the testes are located? Probably not. So we are going to mention those structures. And then we're going to talk about the function of this structure, because this is the essential ones, the most important ones. Why? Because these produce the sex cells, the sperm. Without sperm, there is no babies. It's got to be. There is sperm, but there is no ovum, there's no babies. Two of them needs to be there. The male and the female sex cell. If it's not there, nothing happens. So that's what they call essential. I can have any other accessory organs, but I don't have the testes, the testicles. Well, the testicles are the one that produces the sperm. And if I don't have it, or they don't work, oh, same thing. It doesn't matter if I got any other structure there. I don't have the essential one. So the testicles or testes or gonads are located inside the scrotum. See? Scrotum. What is the scrotum? The scrotum is this sac outside of the pelvic area. So they are going to be inside that bag, if you will, or sac. That's basically what it is important. Now, it is so important that these testes are hanging outside the body, because the temperature within this structure is a little lower than the temperature inside our body. How's that? Well, if the testes have the same temperature as our body temperature, these testes are going to be having problems with the sperm. It's going to be too hot in there. So the sperm, they are not going to be produced, or they are going to be produced abnormally. So when nature made us, well, they made us in a way that, these sperm are going to be protected from body temperature. I'm talking about external temperature, body temperature. That's why the testicles are outside the body. They are hanging right there within the scrotum. So that's basically what it is. So it is the reason, and I'm explaining it now. What is the reason? Because the temperature within the scrotum is lower than the temperature inside our body. If the temperature increases within the testicles, then the sperm is going to be cooked, if you will. They cannot have high temperature because then they're going to die or they're going to malfunction. So they're not going to be good to fertilize an egg. Now, the testes, see, like any other organ that we have spoken already. Remember, the lungs have this membrane, the pleural membrane that protects them. The heart has the pericardium, this membrane that protects the heart. And most of the structure, they have it. The brain has the meninges that protects them. Well, the testicles are not an exception. They are covered by this membrane that is called the tunica albuginea. Anytime that we talk about tunica means membrane. It is a covering. But membrane is a lot easier for us because we are more familiar with it. Tunica, well, sounds like a dress. But back in the days, that's how these people call it. It's called the tunica albuginea. So this is the membrane that protects, that the testicles are covered, are protected with. That's why we can see that we have two testes, two testicles, because they are separated by this membrane, because each one of them are covered by this membrane. They are not in one bag. They are in the scrotum, but the testes, they are not connected together. They are separate, and they are separated because they are in a different bag, if you will, in a different sac inside, which is called the tunica albuginea. What is the function of this tunica? Just like the pleural membrane, the pericardium, the meninges protect the testicles because they are hanging outside. So they are kind of hitting each other when the person walks, when the person jumps, just like the other membranes that protect the lungs, the heart, the brain, and so on and so forth. So that's basically what it is. So now we have this correlation, right? That almost every single organ is going to have a membrane. Well, the more we see, the more that we cover these chapters, the more that we cover these systems, organs, so then you understand a little better. So you're not going to forget. Because the more that we see it, the more that we understand how these organs are protected, how these organs are covered. If I mention only one and only one organ, it is covered, it is protected by this particular membrane, well, we're going to forget very soon as we jump to another subject. But because we keep on talking about the same thing, but with a different organ, so it's kind of remind us that these membranes are going to be all the time within these organs. So that's basically what it is. Talking about, once again, the testes, they are within the scrotum. Now they are covered by this membrane that is called the tunica albuginea. The testes, the testicles, they are not stick together. They are not attached They are separate organs. So if we will remove one testis, the other one just function just good, normally. So that's basically what it is. Moving on, let's talk about the functions. So I already told you somehow the function, because I mentioned that the testis produces sperm. So the function of producing this, or the process of producing these sperms, is called spermatogenesis. Spermat means sperm. Genesis means generates, produce, production of, generation of sperm. Remember that sperm is the male sex cell. In order for this sperm to be produced, there is a particular hormone that acts up on the testes, which is LH. LH, this is a hormone. It is stands for luteinizing hormone. So LH. Remember, for females, we're going to see what hormone acts up on the ovaries for the production or stimulation of the ovum or the egg, which is the female sex cell. So this is important. As spermatogenesis, remember, the production of sperm that happens within the testicles, it is called spermatogenesis. Simple. Now, where within the testicles these sperm cells are developed? Where are they produced? Well, these sperm cells are produced within an area and structure inside the testicles that is called the seminiferal tubules. Seminiferal tubules. Semi sound like semen, like sperm. So later on, we're going to talk about what is the difference between just the sperm, what is the seminal fluid. What do they call it? Semen, seminal fluid. What is the sperm? Well, we're going to talk about that later on. But it's important that you understand this. Otherwise, you're not going to understand what is the purpose of having a sperm and what is the seminal fluid. So that is basically what it is. In the next slide, we're going to have a diagram of the testicle. And we're going to see exactly where is the seminiferal tubules, how they look like. Now, right adjacent to the seminiferal tubules, we're going to have something that is called interstitial cells. Okay, interstitial means inside the testicles, but next to the seminiferal tubules. I will be showing you within the diagram which are the seminiferal tubules where sperm is produced and the interstitial cells where testosterone is produced. Because remember, testosterone is the male hormone. This is the one that gives males the secondary characteristics. As I mentioned at the beginning, males physically looks different than females. That's external characteristics are produced by testosterone. Well, not the only thing, but part of it. So that's basically how it works. So if we are going to summarize this, we're going to say that the testes produce sperm, and that particular process is called spermatogenesis. Now, where is this sperm produced? Within the seminiferal tubules inside the testes. Because remember, the testicles inside has some structures, and these structures inside are called seminiferal tubules. Right there is when sperm is produced. But there are other structures like interstitial cells that they are also inside, but it's next to the seminiferal tubules. It's like the neighboring structure. And what is important to know about interstitial cells? Because they produce testosterone, the main male hormone. So that's basically what it is. Now, on the bottom, it says that there is a process called meiosis. Remember that we talk about mitosis when we're talking about the cell, the first chapter that we covered, talk about mitosis, and we went through all the phases of mitosis: interphase, prophase, metaphase, telophase. I remember that. So now that is the regular cells of our body. That's cell division. But the sex cells also have a sex division. So when we talk about sex cells, like sperm and the oval, the female cell, when they divide, we don't call it mitosis, we call them meiosis. So that's basically what it is. So in order for, well, not, let's rewind, let's go back to the beginning. When the females becomes pregnant, what makes that process to happen is that the egg means the sperm somewhere within the reproductive tract of the females. Now, when they get together, then to form a new life, the man provides 23 chromosomes. The female produces gives 23 chromosomes. So each one has to give 23 and 23. So we can have 46 chromosomes, which are the normal amount of chromosomes. That's why the children of the offspring always looks like the mother or the father or a combination of things from them. Because each one gives 23 chromosomes. So 23 from the female, 23 from the male. That's called meiosis. That division of giving 23 and 23. 50-50, if you will. If this does not happen like that, if the female doesn't give 23, give more or less, that's when we have these offsprings being born with medical conditions. Inherited medical conditions. So the process of meiosis is the sex cell division. That's meiosis, sex cell division. Mitosis, on the other hand, is cell division only, not the sex cells, not the sperm, not the ovum. It's any cell from our body. All the cells that makes up our organs, muscles, bones, brain, all of them, these cells are called just cells. And the process of they dividing to multiply them to replace the cells that are kind of dying. That's called mitosis. So meiosis only happens when females becomes pregnant. So if the egg does not meet the sperm and fertilize it, then there's no meiosis. In order for meiosis to happen, you must have the fertilization process, meaning males meets the female, egg meets the sperm. Now that egg is fertilized. That's how it works. So meiosis is important, mitosis is important, because they're going to ask you, what is the process of cell division called? Mitosis. Sex cell division, what is the name of the process? Meiosis. So that's basically what it is. A normal human being should have how many chromosomes? 46. Oh, you have 47, 48. Oh, this gotta be smarter. No, remember, it has to be balanced. You should not have more than 46 nor less than 46. That doesn't work. Remember, you have to be balanced. 50-50. Okay. So now we talk about the function of the testes. Like we're going to talk about testicles, so it's a lot easier so you can retain. But you see, testicles, all sounds very similar, right? But if I said gonads, that's going to be a little different. So testicles, very important. Where are they located? And what is it that they do? What is the main function? What are they called? The essential glands of the reproductive male system, because they produce the sperm, this sex cell, that when, connected with, or when they get together with the ovum, they can be fertilized. So that's basically what it is. What is another important thing about the testes? It produces testosterone, this male hormone that gave us males the male's secondary characteristics. That's what we differ from females. The process of sex cell division is called meiosis. Remember, if you see in your exam, cell division, what is the name of cell division? What is the process called? Mitosis. But then you said sex cell division. What is the name? What is the process? Meiosis. That's how you are going to remember this. So let's move to the next slide. Any questions up to now about the male essential structure or gland for that matter? So here we have an image and a sonogram. This is a real testy on the right. On the left is a diagram, of course. So here we have all these little tubes that looks like spaghetti. Probably you can see it. This looks like a slice of pizza. All this convoluted, this looks like all these yellow thing right here that look like worms, like spaghettis, whatever you want to call them. These are called the tubules. So that's basically what it is. These are called the seminiferal tubules. Semi comes from semen. That semen, sperm are totally different two things. But here in this part is where sperm is produced within the testicle. So if you see right here, these are the walls. This is the tunica albuginea. See? So this is the testicle right here, up to here. Oh, my bad. I cut it off. It's right there. It comes right here. These are the testicles right here. So the entire thing right here is the testicle. So this part right here that is called the epididymis, this little structure right here that it looks like a, I don't know, like a comma sign. It is on top of the testicle. So if you see all these seminiferal tubules that are right here within the testicle, they move to this little structure that it is part of the testicle, of course, but it is separated structure. They move right here. And they fill all these structure, the epididymis, with this structure. The epididymis is very important because here within these testicles is where sperm, the male sex cell, these gonads, the male sex cells, I'm sorry, the sperm, it is produced. But then it is produced right here. In order for this sperm to mature, it has to move to the epididymis. So here in this area on top of the testicle is where the sperm matures. So here are babies. As soon as they are produced, they immediately move to this area where they're going to mature. And then this is going to be sent, this sperm, through this vas deferens or spermatic cord outside the body. So that's how it works. So now we know where the seminiferal tubules are, where the sperm is produced, and where the sperm matures, which is the epididymis. That information, we have it later on. But now we are in front of this image. I just want to go over so I don't forget. And that is a lot easier because when you have an image, you can kind of get better understanding. So that is basically how it happens. So these are the testes, and this is the seminiferal tubules. So if you see on the other side, this is a sonogram of the testes. See, this area right here is the epididymis. That is this section that is on top of the testis. It is attached to it. This is the testis itself. And this is the tubes that brings the sperm all the way up, almost to the belly, and then goes down. Later on, we're going to talk about why it's going up and doing all these things, because other processes are going to be happening during this trajectory of the sperm, or the traveling of the sperm through this vas deferens or spermatic cords. So that's basically how this works. So this will be the testes or the testicles. Now, remember, we talk about the interstitial tissue. So interstitial means inter, in between, right here. So in between right here, we're going to have the interstitial spaces, cells. And here is where testosterone is going to be produced. See, within these spaces. That's the interstitial cells. That's where testosterone is going to be produced. See, testicles, testosterone. That's how we have to remember this. So it's going to be a lot easier for you to retain this information for a longer period of time. When we memorize things, it's going to be not for so long. It's going to be a very short-term memory. Because we remember it now because we memorize it. 2, 3 days, 1 week, it's going to be forgotten. Can you imagine a month, 1 year, 2 years, 10 years? You're not going to recall at all. You're going to recall this if you are encountering these terms in your regular activities. Other than that, it's going to be forgotten. So seminiferal tubules, where the sperm is produced, the interstitial tissue cells, where testosterone, the main male hormone, is produced. Any questions about the testicles or testes, the seminiferal tubules, sperm, the interstitial cells, testosterone? Well, the epididymis, we're going to repeat that. The vas deferens, we're going to go over that. But because we are here and we have these structures connected, well, we just have to mention them. Any questions? Good. So here we have them. So if you see, or if you notice right here, see, testes is plural. Testis with I is singular. Let's put it in. Oh, it was supposed to be highlighted. Otherwise, you're not going to see it. Highlighted. Let's put it blue. Right here. So testis. Oh no, this is not working. All right. So, okay. So these are the testes. I'm just going to make a circle. Testis is singular. Testes is plural. This part right here that contains the seminiferal tubules, that contains the interstitial tissue or cells, is called the lobule. And because we have 2 lobules, but don't worry about that name, will never be asked. If you ever have this, it's going to have testicles or testes, that's it. And if you look right here, this is the epididymis. We've seen each structure individual, and this is the vas deferens or spermaticle. So everything that is produced right here, it moves here to mature, and from here leaves the testicles through these tubes. That is what we, or I am trying to convey right here, to explain to you so you understand how these structures are connected together and all the pathway of these essential cells leaves the testicles through where, which structures. So this is the sperm. So remember, the sperm is a cell. In cells have parts. So if we look at this image right here, we can name all its parts. So here it is a magnification of the head, which is right here. So this is the head. Now, this part right here, see? Let's think that this is the neck. So this will be the neck. We call it the mid piece because it's in the middle. And then we have this structure right here, which is the tail, which is from here down. We have the tail. So a sperm is made of head, neck, and tail. But we don't call it neck, we call it mid piece because it's in the middle. Most of the cells that contains right here are mitochondria. These are the organelles. Remember those very tiny structures. And what is the function of mitochondria? The power plant of the cell. This is the one that produces energy. Remember, without energy, how is this sperm gonna move? How is going to navigate from the external genitalia of the female all the way inside the uterus and probably the fallopian tubes? How's going to navigate? Well, it needs energy. If there is no energy, this cell's not going anywhere. They're not gonna even live in the testicles. They're gonna stay there. They have no energy. So energy is right here, mitochondria. Now, these cells have other chemicals, other substance, very, very important. Now, remember, every single cell has parts, but every single cell has to have a nucleus. See? Nucleus. And where's the nucleus? The nucleus is inside the head of the sperm. This is the one that contains the genetic material, DNA, RNA. Now, it says right here, acrosome. So what is exactly acrosome? Acrosome is a substance, let's put it that way, a chemical that it is right here within the head of the sperm. And what is this acrosome good for? This acrosome, when the sperm meets the egg, this acrosome is going to be activated and it's gonna break the cell of the egg so it can go inside. Without acrosome and sperm is not good. It is not. Doesn't work. So when it reaches the egg and the sperm does not have acrosome, cannot perforate, cannot go through the egg or the ovum, the female sex cell, they cannot enter. So that's how it works. So that's how females becomes pregnant. So the sperm has three parts: head, midpiece, and the tail. And the head contains these enzymes, this chemical, just put a chemical inside, that is called acrosome. And the purpose of that acrosome is that when the sperm meets the egg, this acrosome is going to dissolve. It's like acid burns the membrane of the egg of the female and it goes in. Otherwise, it's not allowed to enter. That's how it works. So this is the sperm. Let's continue now. So we talk about the testicles, its structures, where the sperm is produced, where the testosterone is produced, where sperm matures within the testicles. Now, let's talk about how this sperm is going to be leaving the testicles or the epididymis. So it says right here, we're going to talk about the vas deferens. See, they are called ducts, reproductive ducts. It's a channel, a tube, or vas deferens. So these are these ducts through which the sperm passes after leaving the testes. And on its path out to the body. So remember, this sperm, when it's produced, they have to leave the body. What happens if it doesn't leave the body? No problem. The testicles are going to be the tissue of the testicles or the epididymis absorbs these sperm cells if they don't leave, meaning the male do not ejaculate. So that's basically what it is. So these tubes are these channels through which sperm leaves from the testicles. So here we have the epididymis. Remember, this is this structure like a coil tube. It looks like the sign, the comma sign. It looks like this. That is on top of the testicles, on the side or back of the testicle. That's basically what it is. The most important thing is not where it's located. The most important thing is its functions. See, sperm matures in the epididymis. Remember the image that I showed you before. Right here. See, this is the epididymis, this structure. So all these seminiferal tubules produces sperm, but once again, the sperm do not mature there. They don't stay there. As soon as they produce, they move to the epididymis and they mature here. And from here, they go through these vas deferens, see? All reproductive tubes of spermatic cord. So that's the function. That's how it works. That's why we have to mention each one of these structures because we need these sex cells to be removed from the testicles in order for them to have a function. So that's basically where we are going over all these. So just in case you have a question, what is the epididymis? What is the function of the epididymis? The epididymis is on top of the testicles, mostly behind the testicle. And what is the major function? Mature sperm. That's where sperms matures. The sperm that is found within the seminiferal tubules within the testicles, they are immature. They just produce now. They are recently produced. They have to mature, but in order for them to mature, they're gonna move to the epididymis. The epididymis is connected to the to the vas deferens, so it's gonna go right there when the male ejaculates. So that's basically what it means. Now, very clear that I said when the man ejaculates. I didn't say when the male have sex. Male can ejaculate in other ways. So again, it's during ejaculation. Any questions about this vas deferens or, once again, spermatic cords? Because these are cords, tubes where sperm passes through. Talk about sperm. It is parts, head, midpiece, and tail. So this is important. This is the epididymis. See, each image is going to just depict the structure that we are talking at that moment. So you can see every single part or structure of the male's reproductive system. You know where it's located. You see, it is on top, but on the back, behind the test. And this epididymis then becomes the spermatic cord. Because this right here is connected, remember? From here it sends all these seminiferal tubules, sends all the sperms to mature right here. And then when they are mature and the male ejaculates, the sperm leaves through these spermatic cords, or vas deferens, or reproductive ducts. So that's how it works. So any questions about the epididymis? So there are two things that you have to remember. The epididymis, it is located on top of the testicle. This is like an extension of the spermatic cord, but it has different function. And it is stick or stuck to the testicles, behind the testicles, on the back of the testicle. And that's where sperm matures. That's what's so particular. Okay. So let's continue with this vas deferens. It says right here, what is the function? It receives sperm from the epididymis and transports them through the abdominal cavity, passes through the inguinal cavity, and joins other ducts, other little tubes that are called the seminal vesicle to form the ejaculatory duct. So there are three things that it's going to be finding on its way. In other words, this vas deferens, as it goes up to the inguinal area, to the pelvic area, they change names. It's the same tube, but when they go up, 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 passing through certain regions and picking up certain things, because that's what makes them different, what's happening during that trajectory, they receive a different name because they are close to another gland. Remember those sex glands that we talk about it? Well, the seminal vesicles are those glands. One of them. We're going to have three of them. So as the spermatic cord moves from the testicles, from the epididymis, bringing the sperm as it goes up to the pelvic area, it's going to be changing names. As soon as it hits this place, then it's going to encounter the seminal vesicle around here, then it's going to change name. It's going to call the ejaculatory duct. Then when it moves a little farther up, it's going to change again because it's going downward. So it's going to change again. It depends which side. Think about this. You're riding the train. So you're coming from Manhattan to Queens, from Manhattan, or from Queens to Manhattan, or from Brooklyn to Manhattan, Manhattan to Brooklyn, whatever the case may be. So yes, we are in New York, but now we are crossing the border of Manhattan, Brooklyn. So we passing this bridge. So now it's calling the Brooklyn Bridge. But we are in New York. So these are the same tube that is called the spermatic cord of the vas deferens, but as it goes up, receive other names because it encounters another structure that is going to subminister, that is gonna put something, that is gonna deliver something to these tubes. We're gonna talk about that. So that's how I want you to understand this. It's not done, okay, so the vas deferens, I thought it was the whole thing. Now it turns out that the vas deferens ends right here. Now you have something else. No, it doesn't end right there. It's the same road. It's the same track. But now this track moves to a different region. So now we are not in New York, now we are in New Jersey. Oh, we passed the border. We are in Pennsylvania. We are in Delaware, and so on and so forth. No, every single time that crosses that border, then we're going to receive a different name. So that's how this works. So you don't have to know the trajectory of the track, where it goes from, knows from where it starts, what it brings, but you don't have to know every single detail. What you have to know is, what's the name of those tubes that carry sperm? Oh, vas deferens, spermatic cord. Oh, good. Where is sperm produced? Within the testes, within the testicles. Oh, where exactly? The seminiferal tubules. Where is sperm produced? Within the testes. Oh, you don't have the testes. Then look for interstitial cells or interstitial tissue. Or seminiferal tubules if it is the sperm. Where is testosterone produced? Interstitial cells. Where? Within the testes. That's it. You don't have to know every single tract. What you need to know is the glands that comes next, because they are going to give something to this tract. They're going to drain something to the tract. Other than that, you need to know the basics. I'm explaining you all the trajectory, because all the track, if you will, because I want you to understand that this is not a different tube. This is the same tube, it's just that crosses the border in certain regions of our body and encounter another gland that is going to subminister something, it's going to administer something, if you will, and then continues the track. And it's going to meet something else, and it's going to change names again. So we are going like interstate or interboard. So we're not in Manhattan anymore, we're in Queens. We're not in Queens anymore, we're in Long Island, kind of thing. So just know that these tubes are called vas deferens. That's it. And what they do, they just transport the sperm. Later on, we're going to call it another name, but for now, just sperm. That's what we call it sometimes, spermatic cords. See the duct's difference or vas difference. Vas for kind of vessel, because it looks like a vessel, but it doesn't transport lymph, doesn't transport blood, it transports sperm. We don't need to know how long it is, how the diameter. We don't care about any of those. We just understand that this is where all this sperm that was produced and moved right here to the epididymis, now they're gonna move to this tract, to this tube. And because the testicles are within a sac, they have to leave that area. And because they are hanging outside the body, they have to move up the pelvic area and then come down. And we're going to talk about those structures when we get there, because that will be the sternal structures of the male genitalia. That's basically what it is. So we don't need to know all the details. I'm giving you a little more details because I want you to understand how this is connected, from where to where this sperm that it is produced inside the testicles, where are they going to move? How are they going to get off? So that's basically what it is. They can even call the ejaculatory ducts. So when you hear these terms, you have to relate them to this vas difference or these spermatic cords or ejaculatory ducts. So this will be these tubes. Let's talk about the accessory glands. So there are 3 accessory glands or accessory sex glands because they are going to provide something very important for the sperm. Like what they're going to do is they're going to provide this media that is going to help the sperm to live, to travel through these vas differences. That's the key. Let's think about these tubes, this spermatic cord, this vas deferens, these ejaculatory tubes. Let's assume that these cords, these tubes, are a fish tank. They are a fish tank. Throw a fish tank inside an empty fish tank. What's going to happen? They're going to die. They're not going to survive. How are they going to swim? I'm throwing right there in the fish tank. Yeah, it is a fish tank, but it has to have water. Otherwise, they're not going to be able to swim. So these 3 accessory glands or accessory sex glands, they're going to provide this media, this water, if you will, so sperm can navigate from the epididymis all the way up. Can you imagine going against the current, going against gravity? Because that's what sperm has to do. But sperm cannot just navigate on the tubes by themselves, and the empty tube, if you will. Think about the fish tank without water. So we need these fluids, these liquids that I'm going to be filling in the tube. Now, these little sperms are going to be able to travel through these media. They're going to be able to swim because sperm swims up and then down. So these three sex glands are going to provide that media. Remember, that water, so to speak. So these three glands are called the seminal vesicles, the prostate gland. Oh, you heard about the prostate gland? You didn't hear about anything else. If you have not taken anatomy and physiology, probably you never heard this. Neither the bulbourethral or Cooper's gland. Bulbourethral. See, urethral. Oh, wait a minute. That sounds like the urethra. Yes, you're right. We're going to have a gland that it is right there where the urethra starts or begins. And each one of these glands is going to provide some substance, some stuff, some secretions. So it's going to be filling that spermatic cord or vas deferens. So now the sperm can swim up and down. Well, down it's going to be a lot easier, right? But without this media, it's not going to be able to swim. So we need these three glands for this sperm to be able to leave the epididymis or the testicles, if you want to call it that way. So we need these three glands because they're going to produce this media, this environment, this liquid, so the sperm can swim and leave the testicles. We're going to talk about now what is the secretions that the seminal vesicles produce? What is called? How do we know that that is the one from the seminal vesicles? What is the prostate gland produces? What is the bulbourethral gland or the Cooper's gland produces? Something that you need to learn from here is that one of these accessory glands usually is asked in exams. Which one do you think it will be? Number 3, this. Which gland is called the Cooper's gland? So then it's going to say the bulbourethral gland. Or the urethral gland is also known as the Cooper's gland. I don't have to tell you again, the Cooper's was the last name of the doctor that discovered this gland and the secretions, the substances that this gland produces, and what it does to facilitate the transport of sperm outside the testicles. So because it receives a different name, so most of the time it's a common question for exam. Remember, bulbourethral gland, Cooper's gland is the same. The same gland. Any questions about these three sex glands? So we're going to move on and we're going to talk about once again what is it that the seminal vesicle produce? What does the prostate gland produce? What is it the bulbourethral or the Cooper's gland produce? Next, here it is, the seminal vesicles. Before we kind of go over this, think about the word seminal. Al, pertaining to semen, semen. Semen, sperm, it's not the same. It's not. So don't confuse that. So just make sure that whenever you hear about semen or sperm, they are not synonymous. They are not. Seminal, remember, pertaining to semen, because this is the substance that is produced by this gland, the seminal vesicles, that is going to be added. This is the substance that is going to be sent to these tubes. So the sperm can swim. That's basically what it is. This is what forms the seminal fluid, what we commonly call semen. So this is just a substance, a secretion that these glands produce. And once again, this is like the Queensboro Bridge. So this gland, if you're traveling by land, you go from Queens to Manhattan, you have to pass the Queensboro Bridge. Let's say that you go this way, then the seminal vesicles is the Queensboro Bridge. If you go from Manhattan to Brooklyn, Brooklyn Bridge. So you encounter this particular gland. You have to pass through this particular gland. As you pass for this particular gland, this gland secretes this because you're passing through it. The train is passing, the bus is passing through these tunnels or these bridges. So as the sperm passes through it, this liquid it is sent, or these secretions are ejected to the track. So the sperm can continue swimming. How do we know that this is the seminal fluid? Because the color, it is yellowish color, and it is very thick. Now look what it says right here. It is rich in fructose. Fructose is a type of glucose. And what is glucose does? Well, provides energy. Energy for what? Energy to the sperm. So this is like nutrients for the sperm. So as the sperm passes through the seminal vesicles, they're gonna kind of take, absorb, eat, whatever you wanna call it, swallow these fructose. So they get energy and they continue traveling through all these tracks. It's like fuel for them. They need gas to keep on going. That's energy. So that's the seminal vesicles. So there is a seminal gland. We can call it seminal gland. And what seminal gland produces? The seminal fluid. And how do we know that is the seminal fluid? Because it looks yellowish and it is thick. So if we look at this seminal fluid, whether it's kind of physically looking at it or under the microscope, we're gonna see these yellowish structures within this liquid when the male ejaculates. So that's how it works. So that is the seminal vesicles job. This is a sex gland because it produces the seminal fluid. How do we know that is the seminal? Because of it is colored. It is consistent, which is very thick. It is yellow. So that's basically what we need to know. Most of the seminal fluid is produced right here, 60% by the seminal vesicles. Well, it makes sense because it's the first gland that the sperm is going to meet on its way. No, we're not talking about one sperm just moving. We don't talk about millions. Millions of sperms leaving the epididymis or the testicle. And how they're going to swim? They need all these media, this secretion, so they can move up the current of these tubes. So this is the first gland, the seminal glands. Then we're going to have the prostate gland. And last, we're going to have the bulbourethral gland or the Copper's gland. Each one of them are going to produce some secretions, certain volume, and they're going to have different characteristics. And all of these secretions together are we're going to call seminal fluid. The whole thing. And it's called seminal fluid because most of this liquid is going to be produced by the seminal glands. Remember, seminal vesicles, seminal glands is the same. So don't remember vesicles, remember seminal glands. Any questions about this first sex gland that's called the seminal gland? Moving on, prostate gland. Okay. So we kind of go over the prostate gland somehow, a little bit probably. I mentioned it before. So it looks usually like a donut. And the most important thing is its location, because it is located right underneath the urinary bladder, right beneath the urinary bladder, below the urinary bladder. That's basically what it is. So it is around it. And what is it that this gland produces or secretes? It is secretion. It's mostly, the volume is around 30% of the seminal fluid. See, now we're talking about the seminal fluid because it's the one that we collect, because it is more secretions from the seminal gland than the prostate. So this is 30%. So how do we know that this is the secretion from the prostate gland? Because we're going to see this secretion that looks like white. It's a milk color secretion, and it's very thin. It looks like the white from the eggs. When you break an egg, it has the yolk and the white part. So this white part is very similar to this, but it is white. That's the only difference. But the thickness. So that's how it is. Now it says right here again, this is the one that produces the media for these sperms to continue moving. Motility, remember, be careful, motility and mortality is totally different. Motility means moving. Mortality means death. So we're not talking about that. So this helps these sperms from keep on moving up these tracks. The vast difference. So that's how it functions. So each one of these sex glands is going to provide some type of secretion. So this tube is going to be filled inside with all these media, so all these sperms can travel from the testicles all the way up to the inguinal area through the inguinal canal and then coming back, meeting these glands. So that's basically what it is. So am I going to be worried what is the section between this, where the seminal glands is, when they meet the urethra? No. It's just the trajectory. It's like when you're going from your home to your workplace. Do you worry how many stops there are there? Oh, I just passed this stop, so I have 2 more stops, 3 more. Usually we don't. We just know that we have to pass through those stops. That's it. Oh, I'm here. It says, oh, this is my stop. So we're going to ignore all the stops in between. So what we're going to remember is which glands are we going to meet in between, and what is it that these glands are going to provide to this tract. That's it. Anything else we don't. So the prostate gland is going to secrete this fluid that is milk color, very thin, like the white of the egg. That's basic. And it's white, not clear. This is white. Do you have to know the percentage? No, you don't. You just need to know the glands, just in case, just for you to understand where is this word seminal fluid or semen came from, just in case you didn't know. The bulbourethral gland, remember, this is also known as the Copper's gland. Sometimes if you have a question, this will be the question, remember. They're going to ask you, okay, what is another name for the bulbourethral gland? Copper's gland. Or the bulbourethral gland is known as the Copper's gland. Now, we don't care the shape of this gland, but it said that it looks like a pea, very small one. Those peas that we eat, but so it is the same size, very small. Now, the secretion that this bulbourethral or the Copper's gland produces is a mucus-like fluid. Mucus-like fluid. This one. Oh. So that's what we know. And it's only 5% from the total volume of the seminal fluid. So the seminal glands produces 60. The other ones, the prostate produces 30 and 5%. So we have here like 95%. And then the other 5% is going to be sperm if it travels there. So now we have 100%. So it's very little amount of this. So for us to kind of get the hang of these glands, more likely you have to know is the color of the secretion. The same, the seminal glands produce this yellow color, yellow seminal. Oh, that's it. Prostate, white color. What about the coppers of the bulbourethral gland? Oh, this is the mucus-like. That's it. Now, this usually is not asked in exam, so I wouldn't be worried about this. Remember what I told you is that you should know is that the bulbourethral gland is also known as the Cooper's gland. So in your exam, you're probably gonna have this. So if you have to learn something from these glands, it's gotta be this. Any questions? about these three glands. Remember, these are the accessory glands of the male's reproductive system. These do not work for the men, for the females. The females do not have this. So we don't have to be worried about with females when we go over the female's reproductive system. Oh, this gland, this gland, this, no. Female's reproductive system is totally different. We move on. So here we are gonna have all the structures of the male's reproductive system. So we're gonna have here the testes. Remember, it's one, so it's. Then we're gonna have here the epididymis, which is the structure located on top of the testicles, on the back of the testicles, behind the testicles. So the testis is where sperm is produced. The epididymis is where the sperm is mature, or when the sperm matures. Then we're gonna have the spermatic core right here, the Dobbs deferens, or the spermatic core, or the ejaculatory ducts. Then we're gonna have the seminal vesicles. These are right here. So from the testicles, we have this. Gonna go over that here. This tube goes right here, and then start coming down. On its way down, you're gonna find the prostate gland, which is located right here around the urethra. So that is basically what it is. And it goes a little below and it's gonna find the bulbourethral because it's gonna meet the urethra. And then through the urethra, it's gonna come all the way outside through the penis. So it has a long way to go up and then, has to go all the way up and down. That's what it needs all this seminal fluid. So when we talk about the seminal fluid, it's nothing else than the secretions from the seminal vesicles, the secretions from the prostate, the secretions from the Copper's gland, plus sperm. That's seminal fluid. Semen, seminal fluid. It's just a short name for seminal fluid. So that is basically the function of these sex cells, to provide all these secretions so the sperm can move from the testes all the way up to the inguinal area and down through the external male's genitalia to the outside. Any questions about these male accessory glands and organs? Moving on. So here we have the male reproductive system. So here we're gonna kind of draw, just like I did before, the track from the testes all the way to the ejaculatory ducts, passing through these vesicles, picking up all these secretions and going out the body. So I'm gonna use this blue color just for you to see it. So here are the testes. Sperm is here. It follows this track. This is the vas deferens. See, all the way up, almost to the belly. Then it's gonna come down. Here it's gonna find the first gland, the seminal glands. It's gonna pick up here the secretions. They move right here. It's gonna pick up, see, this is the prostate gland. So it's going to pass here. Now it's going to move down. Oops, here is the bulbourethral gland. And then the urethra is right here because that's the part of the external duct that is going to bring the sperm out, the seminal fluid out to penis. So that's all the trajectory, the path that the seminal fluid or the sperm is going through. Now think about there is no fluid. Well, the sperm is not going to be able to navigate, to swim, if you will. So the sperm is going to die somewhere on the tracks or not even start swimming. So that's basically how it works. Now, another question that might come in exams, remember, is the prostate gland. Because it's kind of unique for a lot of things. When we get into the, I believe the endocrine system, but the reproductive system is the urinary system. We're going to use it again. So this is the gland right here. See? It is surrounding the urethra that passes here. So this is the urethra. The urethra is the tube that drains the urine from the urinary bladder. So the whole thing is the urethra. So you see, this is the urinary bladder. I'm going to put it in another color. This is the urinary bladder. So this is the urethra. And what is it that the, let's put a different color here. Let's put on green because we don't have it here. So this is the prostate. See, this is the prostate. And it is surrounding the urinary bladder. See, urine drains right here, passes through the prostate. Now, what happens if the prostate swells up, becomes larger, squeezes the urinary bladder? So you're not going to be able to pee because it's kind of constricting it. So we will see that when we get to the urinary system. For now, just understand, we're going to repeat it again during the urinary system. Just understand that one of the questions that might come about the urinary bladder is that the urinary bladder is located below. Oh, I'm sorry, the prostate is located below, underneath the urinary bladder. So questions for example. Where is the urinary located? Below, underneath. I mean the prostate. Where is the prostate located? Below, underneath the urinary bladder. The urinary bladder is around the urethra. See? Different wording. That's basically you need to know. So the urinary bladder is.
Can you repeat that again, please?
The prostate gland is located underneath, below the urinary bladder. That's how the questions are asked. Where is the prostate located? Or they ask you, which gland is located below the urinary bladder? The prostate gland. Or the prostate gland is located where? Below the urinary bladder. These are questions that usually arises during exams. So every single time that I have the chance to tell you what most likely you're going to see on your exam, I'm going to tell you. But you got to make sure that you put a note right there, something that is going to remind you later on when you read, when you finish these classes, and when you finish your internship, and when you're ready to take the national certification, that you're going to review that stuff, because that stuff is the one that you're going to need later on. Instead of reading every single thing, who's going to remember everything? Nobody. I don't want you to memorize any of this. It doesn't work. So those are the things that are important. The seminal glands, vesicles, the bulbourethral. The only thing that they might ask you, oh, which one is the Cooper's gland? Because usually, I heard about those. And I don't want to miss one, not, omitting it, not mentioning it, because if it comes, well, fine. If it doesn't, not a problem. Remember that each one of you is going to have a different test. The questions are not going to be the same for each one. The questions are randomly selected. So you might have some of the questions because these are, let's say that they have type A, B, C, D. You don't know which ones you're going to have. Maybe B have the question, maybe A doesn't have it. Maybe B and C have the same question, maybe the other type of test don't have it. I don't know which one you're going to get. I wish I would. I don't. So this is the male's reproductive system. It looks very complex, but actually when we kind of break it down in certain parts, just the basics, it is not. It's just that there are many structures that you're not familiar with. And he uses all these terms that it doesn't matter how you want to remember them, you need to learn the names because you cannot change the name of the prostate gland. You cannot change the name of the Cowper's gland or the bulbourethral gland or the seminal vesicle gland. Can. So you have to remember these things. Remember, the worst part about anatomy and physiology is medical terminology. Other than that, when you get familiar with these terms, it's going to be a lot easier to understand a lot of stuff. Moving on. Okay, so we kind of go over these internal structures because everything that we talk about is internal. Remember, I say internal because the testicles are internal. The testicles are not external. Remember, the testicles are inside the scrotum. So the scrotum is external, not the testicles. The urethra is external, it's internal. The penis is not, because the urethra is inside the penis. So male's external genitalia. So here it is, the penis and the scrotum. That's it. The penis and the scrotum, this sac that contains the testicles, this is the outside, so it's external. The penis, outside. But whatever it is within the scrotum of the penis, that's not called. So we have these three columns that makes up the penis. These are muscles. That's basically what it is. It says right here, the penis has three columns. Yeah, columns. Something like this. One column, two columns, three columns. So which are those columns? Which are the names of those columns? Two dorsal, meaning two on the back, and one in the front. For those who already took medical terminology, remember directional? Here we have two dorsal. Dorsal means on the back, and one ventral. Ventral in the front. The dorsal ones are called corpora cavernosa. Corpora cavernosa mean this corpora cavernosa is like a sponge. That's what is called erectile tissue. So when the male's penis becomes erected, this corpora cavernosa fills in with blood. So all these muscle, all these columns are kind of empty when the penis is flaccid. As soon as the penis becomes erected, it's because blood fills in this. Blood, that's what is called erectile tissue because it makes the penis to become erect, hard, if you will. Remember, this is medicine. This is not something that we have to take it differently, okay? Oh, this professor is talking about erections and all. This is medicine, and that's how we call it. And we're talking about the structures that makes up the male's genitalia. This is part of your curriculum. These are the lectures. You need to understand each structure basic. Just these are the basics. We're not talking about anything complex. This is just basics. So that's what is called cavernosa, because cavernosa is like caves. So spaces, like in sponge, as soon as it fills in with water, with soap, it kind of expands. So that's basically what it is. So this is what makes the penis to become erect. Later on, we're going to talk about these conditions where males cannot acquire an erection. And we're going to talk about what is condition. Well, when this happens is because blood is not filling in these caves, if you will. There is something wrong with the nervous system and the vascular system. So blood is not filling in all these spaces, so the penis is not becoming erect. That's basically what it is. So that's what we call impotence, right? Or erectile dysfunction. So it has 3 columns, 2 dorsal on the back, 1 ventral in the front. That ventral is the one that surrounds the urethra. And this is called the corpus spongiosum. Again, one is cavernosa. We're not going to give the same name, cavernosa and spongiosum, because it means the same. Has little kind of spaces in between that are going to be filling with blood. The spongy is the same. Spongy, cavernosa, and spongiosum is the same, but we just don't want to repeat the same name. So on the next slide, we have an image that is going to explain how that is going to see these columns, and we're going to see where they're located, how they look like. Then we're going to have the glands. Not gland with D, is glands without it. This one right here, glands, is the head of the penis. And the head of the penis is protected, is covered by the foreskin. The foreskin is called the prepuce, or the prepuce, whatever you're going to call it. Let's put it right here. Foreskin on. Oops. We're going to have it later on. Oh, I think that this is not marking, but I want. or the prepuce. That's what it's called, the prepuce. Foreskin. Foreskin is the layman term. Is that skin that protects the head of the penis or covers the head of the penis. This is the one that is being removed during the process of circumcision. Remember we talked about circumcision before? So that is basically what it is. The removal of the foreskin during a process called circumcision is not just that you're going to cut it off. No, no, no. It's got to be done by a surgical doctor of an urologist. And usually it's done at birth or right after. So this is the external genitalia. Remember? The scrotum and the penis. That's it. So the penis covered by this piece of tissue that's called the skin. This is layman terms once again, but medical terms is the prepuce, the prepuce, and this condition is called circumcision. Any questions? Good. Okay, so then we're gonna go on break. Now take 30 minutes break. We'll come back 7:30, and then we continue with this chapter. Okay. If you guys have any questions, remember you can ask me when we come back from break. Okay. See you guys later. Enjoy your break. Thank you. You guys are so quiet. Oh my goodness. Okay, so we are back. I hope you guys enjoy your break. Gonna continue with this chapter again. Remember, we're talking about the reproductive system, males and females. We're gonna continue with the male's reproductive system. Then we're gonna move to the female's reproductive system. So let's go back to we were right here. So we were talking about these external genitalia. Remember, we're gonna see the two dorsal columns of the corpora cavernosa, and we're gonna see the ventral column, which is the corpus spongiosum. That's basically what it is. We're gonna mention the glands and the foreskin and all the stuff. So in this diagram, we can see these are the two external, remember, columns that is called the cavernosa. In the middle, if you see right here, oh, let's change colors. Let's put it green. This right here, this is the internal that is surrounding the urethra and make the glands of the penis. This is the inner one. This is the, once again, the spongiosum, the corpus spongiosum. So that's basically what it is. Now, once again, cavernosa, spongiosum means that it has some spaces, and those spaces are going to be filling with blood. But only it's going to be filling with blood. Remember, all these spaces in between is going to be filling with blood when there is an erection. That's it. If it's not an erection, the penis is going to go flat. The penis is going to go flaccid. So that's basically what it is. If you see right here, this is the urinary bladder. This is the urinary bladder. Right underneath, we're going to have the prostate gland. See? Then we're going to have the Cooper's gland. Remember the Cooper's or the bulbourethral gland. So we're not going to worry much about what they do. Mostly is where they are located, especially for the prostate gland. Remember, prostate gland location. Now we're going to see here the glands. Remember, this is the head of the penis. Right here. Here is when we have the opening of the urethra. And this is the urethra. This is the space that connects directly to the urinary bladder. That's where the urine comes from. But it's also the same tract that is going to be joined with the vas deferens right here. And when the male ejaculates, the seminal fluid is going to come through the same channel, the same tube, the same duct. So that's basically what it is. So here it says foreskin or the prepuce. That's it. Not much about this image, just for you to know that inside, internally, within the penis, we're gonna find these muscles that are gonna be kind of have some spaces within, so it's gonna fill with blood. Okay, so moving on. Here it is. This is the external genitalia. This is actually the penis. It's the external structure. That's it, without mentioning any parts. Then we have the urethra, which is internal to penis. and the scrotum, which is on the outside. So these are the external genitalia. So usually if you have questions when they're going to ask you, okay, which of the following structures is considered or organs is considered external genitalia from the males, then you know already. Remember, the testicles are not external. The testicles are inside the scrotum. The scrotum, it is external, but not the testicles. So that's basically what it is. Okay, so we're done with the male's reproductive system. Now we're gonna move to the female's reproductive system. So some of the names are gonna be very familiar. They are very related to the male's reproductive structures. Not all of them, just one of them that is gonna be a little confusing probably, but I don't want you to be confused. So remember, the female's essential organs are called gonads. See? The male essential organs is called gonads. So whether it is males or females, they are called gonads. Now, when we specifically want to talk about these structures, now we're going to have names. If it is the males, we're going to call them testes or testicles. If it is female, ovaries. Ovaries, that's basically what it is. Now, the ovaries, in the same fashion as the testicles or testes, they are going to produce the female sex cell, which is called eggs. Remember, you can call it eggs, you can call it ova, or you can use the medical term that is called oocytes. So it has a little more terms than the testicles. Got testicles, that's it. These gonads, female gonads, are called ovaries. But the cell that it produces, the sex cell, the female sex cell, is gonna be receiving different names: the egg, the ova, or the oocytes. So that's basically what it is. So just be familiar with the terms, because that's all it requires. Now, these sex cells can also be called gametes. Gametes. So it says right here, reproductive or sex cells, also called gametes. Now, that can be also sperm or eggs or oocytes. Remember, gonads are the essential organs of males and females. Sex cells are called gametes, males and females. The male gametes. What are the male gametes? Sperm. What are the female gametes? Eggs, ova, or oocytes. Which is the male essential organ? Testicles. Which are the female's essential organs, reproductive organs? Ovaries, gonads. So that's basically what we want you to know. So instead of saying like in general, the female sex cells or just sex cells, we said gametes. The male sex cells, gametes. You want to be more specific, you just say, depends if it is males, we're going to say the sperm. Sperm are the male gametes. The eggs, the ova, and the oocytes, which means the same, they are the female gametes. Now, fortunately, for the exam, you're not going to be asked about this. You're going to ask about, well, where are eggs or ova produced? Ovaries. That's it. You're not going to be asked about gonads. You're not going to be asked about gametes. No. So that's basically what you need to understand. So this will be the essential female organs. Just remember ovaries. But if you see gonads, this is in general for males and females, essential organs. If you see or hear about gametes, the same. This will be the sex cells in general for males and females. But when we're specifically talking about the male sex cells, we don't say gametes, we said sperm. And we refer to female sex cells, we said eggs, ova, or oocytes. Particularly eggs and ova, the oocytes are usually not used. So you won't be asked about these on exams. Remember, gametes, gonads, you wouldn't be asked. Sperm, eggs, or ova, yeah, those are more common terms used. So just as we discussed the male's essential organs, we also have accessory organs for the female. So we have the essential males, females organs. We have also the accessory males organs and the accessory female organs. Now, organs of reproduction, of course. So let's talk about these accessory organs for females. Here we're gonna have the oviducts, also known as the fallopian tubes, also known as salpingo. So salpingo, fallopian tubes, oviducts means the same. This is like eggs, ova, and oocyte. Those are synonyms. So synonyms are meaning the same. They can use either or. Which ones are the most common use? Fallopian tubes and salpingo. So usually these two will be used. Now, in communication with your patients, we use the fallopian tubes. But when we write down, we put salpingo. When we document anything related to this structure that is connected to the uterus. Talking about the uterus is the next one. We have the uterus and the vagina. Remember, these are accessory, but they are internal. So remember, the vagina, it's like the testicles. They are internal. I encounter many people saying, oh, no, the testicles are external. Oh, the vagina is external. No, it's not. All these organs that we talk about here, the fallopian tubes, the uterus, and the vagina, they are internal organs. Then we talk about these external glands. Now we have the sex glands. Instead of going and talking about the prostate gland, the seminal glands, the bulbourethral glands, females don't have those. They have the breasts, because these are glands. It contains the glands that produces milk. That's basically what it is. But to produce milk during, remember, pregnancy, preparing for the nutrients that is going to be provided to the newborn. And then we're going to go to the external genitalia. So remember that the first images that we present here were the males and the females. Within that two images, and the female shows breasts. So this is important. Because we have here the sex glands or the mammary glands, which is breast. She produces milk. So let's start talking about these structures, essentials, and location. Where are they located? Because remember, just the way that we explain or discuss the testicles, it is location. We're going to talk about the same thing with the ovaries. Where are they located? So this is the female's reproductive system. So because we discuss which ones are the inner structures, then we will see the external genitalia. So we are going to mark here. So this part right here, as you can see, this part right here is the vagina. All this structure right here, I'm going to put it in a different color. All this is the uterus. All this is the uterus. Now, right here, we're going to see the fallopian tubes. These ones are the fallopian tubes, the whole thing. These are the fallopian tubes. So we have two fallopian tubes to each side of the uterus. These are the ovaries, one on the right, on the left, one on the right. So then we're going to talk about the walls of the uterus. Remember, the uterus has a wall. It's made of walls, just like the heart is. The blood vessels. That's what makes sometimes these topics a little more complicated, because it's not just one name for the structure. The structure might have more than one name. So that makes it a little difficult for us, because if it is one name, probably we're able to remember it easily. But it has 1, 2, 3 names. Too much information, right? So here we're going to have the layers of the walls of the uterus. So we're going to start with the outer side, this one. So this is called the perimetrium. The middle layer. Let's put it this color. This is the myometrium, which is myo, muscle, sticker. And then inside, we're going to have the endometrium, right? Right. So this is the endometrium. So these are the 3 layers. Here they are. Perimetrium, myometrium, endometrium. And this will be the layers of the walls of the uterus. Whereas the parts of the uterus are different. See, this is the vagina. This is the cervix. This part is the cervix, is the neck for the uterus. This is very, very important. Why? Because this is when we do the pap smear. From these areas, when we collect the cells from the walls, the inner walls of the cervix. so we can check whether our patient has or doesn't have any papillomaviruses, capable of causing cervical cancer, which is a very common cancer in females. And then we have the body, which is all this is the body right here. This is the body of the uterus. And the upper part, which is this part where the fallopian tubes connects, is called the fundus. So we have parts and walls. So the parts are how these structures are divided in certain regions or segments. The walls are each layer of the uterus alone. And we have all these structures attached to the uterus. But all this makes up the internal structures of the female's reproductive system. Now, if you see right here in this image, this picture, this is not the real deal, but it resembles the real structures of the female's external. Now, if you see here, the ovaries are attached to the body of the uterus on both sides. These are some muscles, some ligaments. The same, the fallopian tubes is attached to the upper part. But you see, this is a opening right here. Why? Because when the female produces the egg right here, the ovum, the egg, every month, this egg is going to move to the fallopian tubes. And it's going to travel all the fallopian tubes and comes right here to the uterus. If during that time of ovulation that we call, female has an encounter and seminal fluid is introduced into the female's vagina, then it's going to travel all this space and it's going to meet right here the egg. And if it meets the egg, fertilization is produced. Now this egg implantate is right here. So that's how it works. So every month, the female produces one egg during her fertile years. And that egg is going to be suctioned by these little finger-like structures. This is like a vacuum. So when the female releases an egg, see, the eggs are produced right here within the ovary. So every month when the female ovulates means the production of this ovum or eggs is going to be right here, and these suction structures are going to suction it right here because these structures are not connected. If you see right here, see the end of the fallopian tubes looks like some fingers, but those fingers are like a vacuum. So as soon as the egg is released right here, the egg is not gonna just move by inertia to the other. No, there is a gap in between. But these little fingers start moving like this, like a suction, like a vacuum, and absorbs the egg, and the egg starts traveling through these tubes. Remember, every
Professor,
single, yes?
so I have sort of a question, but also like I just wanted to say this to sort of get out of my head because I'm thinking here when you say the words accessory and
The
what's
essential,
the other one?
the
The essential,
essential.
yeah. So we're focusing on the fact that essential is for the fertilization, right? Like to create the human being. But why are not like the uterus and the ovaries and other things considered essential? You know what I mean?
I do. So I'm going to explain it to you. So listen to this. This is the ovary, right? And the ovary produces what? The egg. The egg can be removed to a process and do an in vitro fertilization. I don't need the uterus to have another life, do I?
I mean, but
Eggs can be donated and a life can be produced somewhere else. I
oh,
can introduce these eggs on a surrogate mother, somebody else's uterus, because this uterus is not working, but the ovaries are. They are producing the egg. So this female is not able to have a baby. I can remove the egg. But if I don't have the eggs not produced, what am I going to do with the uterus?
okay, I see.
So that's what is called essential. Because without the egg, there is nothing you can do. Now, this uterus works, right? Now, I have an egg from someone else because the ovaries are not working.
Got it.
Well, I'm not going to put an egg right here on a uterus. Then the egg, the ovaries doesn't work because the ovaries produce estrogen and progesterone. And those are essential for the placenta to form here so they can hold the baby. Without the placenta, what is the purpose of putting an egg there?
Okay, that makes sense. And the other question that I wanted to ask is, so when they talk about the eggs that females release, like in a lifetime, let's say 30, I mean 350 to 500, right?
Okay.
Um, what if, like, for example, like in my case, I don't like normally get my period, but
Mm-hmm.
I take like those 10 pills that they give you to sort of like provoke it.
Right.
Do I still release an egg even if it's provoked?
Yes. If you're
Oh, okay.
still menstruating, you are ovulating.
Okay.
It's just then, you know, if you are not, being sexually active, or something like that, or you are protecting yourself, you're not going to become pregnant, but you are still producing the eggs,
So
regardless.
the medicine that they give me is to sort of like make the ovary release that egg, right?
Right.
Okay, okay.
Mhm. And there are some other medications that are doing the opposite
Okay.
to make these eggs not too mature. So if they are
Oh.
not mature, even though if they are released during ovulation, they're not going to be able to be fertilized. So you won't be becoming pregnant.
Hmm. All right.
So
Thank you so
no
much.
problem. No, thank you for asking. Okay. Anyone else have any questions? Remember, these subjects are very interesting because you're a female. And even though if you're a female, still you might be interested to know something about the males. Remember, we are married. I'm not giving you diagnosis. I'm not trying to solve your issues, but sometimes we have questions. And it's important sometimes, ask if I know the answer. Definitely, I'm going to tell you. Otherwise, I'm not going to, just volunteer anything. Then it's not true because that's not what we're here for. So that's basically what it is. So we have parts of the uterus. Remember, the parts of the uterus is totally different from the walls or layers of the uterus. So you probably heard about a condition called endometriosis. We mentioned this during medical terminology. It's because the inner layer of the uterus, which is called the endometrium, it grows right here with the fallopian tubes, where it shouldn't be. So if the female release an egg, it's gonna travel right here. The egg is gonna implantate here, and then if the female has some type of sexual intercourse, then they're gonna meet the egg is gonna meet here in the fallopian tubes, and the egg is gonna think that this is the uterus because you have endometrium, which it shouldn't be in this. So then the female develops this ectopic pregnancy. So that is basically what all these conditions are all about. So at least these help you to discern, to learn, to clarify some doubts that you might think, oh, wow, what is it that, I developed that ectopic why? Or you heard about ectopic pregnancy, but you didn't have no idea how that happens. It's because the pregnancy happens outside of the uterus. It's not within the uterus. And if it's not in the uterus, this pregnancy cannot follow its course. It is impossible. How can a baby grow right here in the fallopian tubes? Something that is so tiny. Impossible. And it's not prepared for that. There is no placenta going to grow there. So that is basically what's important about these chapters, to know, to understand the basics of our reproductive system. So that's basically what it is. So remember, the vagina is considered internal. It's the first internal structure of the female's reproductive system. It is not external. What is external is the vulva, the lips, if you will, not the vagina, okay? So we will see that when we get to the external genitalia. Okay, moving on. So let's talk about these ovaries. Remember, you're not gonna be asked where are they located exactly, what is the size of them, how they are attached. No. If you're gonna be asked about something is which are considered, where are the ova or the eggs produced? The ovaries. That's supposed to be something that is very basic. But we can't just go say, okay, simple, the ovaries produce the eggs. Move on. The testicles produce sperm. Move on. How? Where? Exactly. How does the uterus looks like? How do the testicles look like? It's not what we think. It's what science shows. So we know that there are many structures that makes up these organs that we need to be familiar with. For our own good, for our own knowledge. And once again, you're going to have a patient that's going to stop by and he's going to tell you, oh, what do you need to see the doctor? Oh, have a vaginal bleeding. Oh, I have abdominal pain and I'm pregnant. So then you start kind of forming a picture. Not that you're going to diagnose the patient, but you have an idea what's going on. So you kind of prepare just in case the doctor is going to do a pap smear, some vaginal examination. So you prepare the room to have everything that is needed. If that is not urgent, otherwise they're going to send them to emergency. Sometimes people just come complaining about something like the menstrual period, the PMS, premenstrual period, all these pains and cramps and vaginal discharge and so on and so forth. So nausea, vomiting, you know. So this is related. And you need to be familiar, not to take things lightly when your patient tell you that, or when you are presenting with this. You're gonna be working in a place that I don't know what conditions are gonna rise there. But if you are a little familiar with all these, you have an idea what is it that you are gonna be assisting the medical doctor with. So you are prepared. That's the purpose. So the ovaries, remember, these are the female gonads. Is there this is a pair of glands? Of course, there are glands. What are they glands? They are not just organs. They are glands because they produce hormones. It says that they are attached to ligaments in the pelvic cavity. Well, just like the spermatic cords, they pass through the pelvic cavity. But the female's structures are totally different. And we saw those ligaments. See, these are the ligaments right here. And other membranes that is called like the fascia. But we don't need to know all that. We just need to know, well, yeah, it's sustained right there because the ovaries are not just suspended somewhere. They need to be attached to something. So it says right here, ovarian follicles. So what are the ovarian follicles? Remember, this is like the seminiferal tubules in the male's testicles. There is when you're gonna have the oocyte. The seminiferal tubules have the sperm. Now, these oocytes, usually, or ovarian follicles, are nothing else than immature cells. So are those eggs, those ova that are ready to mature every month, one in each of these ovaries matures. You don't release two eggs every month from each one or from, no, every month they take turns. 1 month is for the right side, one egg. Next month for the left side, one egg. Yes, there's sometimes, very rarely, one egg produces two eggs. It might, but it's not the common. It's not that common. It's very rarely. Usually it's just one. Okay. So this is what it is really important once again. See, female has about 1 million, pay attention to this, of these immature follicles that are going to become eggs. But because they are immature, so at birth, remember, you're still not menstruating. Not yet. You menstruate after, well, the earliest that you can go. Well, let's don't go too early because some people very rarely happens at 8 years old, 11 years old. But after 11, let's say that it will be normal to ovulate, meaning to produce eggs in to become pregnant. This is the time that you start presenting with your menstrual period. That's what we're talking about. So when you are born, you have all these immature cells. So all these oocytes are immature. They are not mature yet. So they cannot be fertilized. Remember, you have to have the menstrual period in order for you to release these eggs, mature ones, every month. But when you reach the majority of age that you start ovulating, then you start having your menstrual period, you don't have 1 million. you lose almost all of them. So by the time you start having your menstrual period, you're going to have between 350 and 500 mature follicles. And those are the ones that during all your reproductive lifetime, you will be releasing. Those are the ones that you're going to release during ovulation. So after you have 1 million when you were born, but during this time that you are not fertile yet, some of these immature cells are going to die. And you're going to end up with 350 to 500. So these are the ones that you have when you start menstruating. And one of them is going to be released every month for the time that you're going to be fertile. So that's basically what it is. So you are not releasing many eggs at the same time during ovulation, like males during ejaculation, millions. Females, only one. So that's basically what's going on. Okay, moving on. So let's talk about this process of egg production or overproduction inside the ovaries. Remember, in the males, the production of sperms is called spermatogenesis. Within the females, the ovaries is called oogenesis, because oo is egg. Oogenesis, production of eggs or ova. These are the female sex cells. This is the one that when reunited with sperm can be fertilized and can produce another life. Remember that the male's testicles produces testosterone, the hormone. The female produces estrogen and progesterone. Remember, that's why these ovaries are called glands, because they produce hormones. Testicles produce the hormone testosterone. So that's basically what it is. So what is the function of estrogen? Remember, the function of testosterone in males, they are the one that causes all these secondary sexual characteristics. Well, in females, estrogen is the one which do that. So your estrogen make your breasts to develop, your hips to become wider, not to have facial or chest hair or things like that. Your voice is different. See, those are secondary sex or sexual characteristics. Estrogen. But estrogen, that's a name right there. We're going to talk about more, because remember, you're going to have the menstrual period. You're going to become pregnant. What happened to estrogen? What is the function of estrogen during pregnancy, during the menstrual period? Progesterone assists estrogen in initiating menses. See? Progesterone. Very important. So during the menstrual period, see, during the menstrual period, estrogen is the one that makes you bleed. Progesterone help you a little bit. But if you become pregnant, now estrogen is going, okay, let's go back. During the menstrual period, estrogen increases. So estrogen increases during the menstrual period because you're not pregnant. But if you become pregnant, estrogen decreases, estrogen increases. Because estrogen is the one that is going to form something that is called the corpus luteum, that later on is going to become the placenta. So these two hormones are very important during pregnancy and during the menstrual period. So estrogen make you bleed because, see, you didn't become pregnant. So let's go back right here to this image. So let's say that you became pregnant. So let's say that this is the inner layer. I'm going to put it inside. This is the inner layer. So you became pregnant. So right here, you stop. You became pregnant. Oh no, you're not pregnant yet. So let's say that you didn't become pregnant. Every month, the body prepares you when you are ovulating during your fertile years. This layer right here, the inner layer, creates another tiny layer. So this tiny layer, let's put it right here, that is called the corpus luteum. This layer right here is called the corpus luteum because the body prepares, because you're female, you are menstruating. So it's preparing the house just in case you become pregnant. I'm going to tell you something else that is important right here. So it forms the corpus luteum. It's attached to the inner layer of the uterus. So let's say that you did not become pregnant. For any reason you didn't. So what I'm going to do with this layer is going to shred down, and this is the menstrual period because this is made of blood. So this is going to detach, and you're going to have the menstrual period every month because you didn't become pregnant. But the body was preparing itself. Every month, your body is creating a corpus luteum every month. After menstrual period, starts forming this wall, just in case you become pregnant. If you don't become pregnant, then you have the menstrual period. So if you kind of miss your menstrual period, the first thing that we're gonna think when you come to the doctor is says, "Oh, I missed my menstrual period. I need to know what it is." Well, we're gonna do pregnancy test. That's the first thing that we do. Because what makes this stop your menstrual period, the most logic thing is pregnancy. Now you become pregnant. Now you're not going to have the menstrual period because this wall is going to stay here and it's going to become thicker and thicker. And now it becomes the placenta. And the egg is going to implantate right inside and start growing, 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 growing. Now you have the fetus right there for a period of 37 and 49 weeks, not months. So that's the importance about this estrogen, that if you don't become pregnant, estrogen is going to increase and then it's going to shed this corpus luteum. Now you're going to bleed. Now you become pregnant,
Professor,
estrogen is going to decrease and progesterone is going to increase because progesterone is the one that is going to build your placenta so you can have your baby inside. Go ahead, Mercedes.
I wanted to ask, so what happens when like certain females they pregnant, right? They get pregnant, but they still see their period.
Well, that can be either or. There are two conditions. One, it is that you have some unknown bleeding, uterine bleeding, but that is an unknown. For some reasons, some hormonal changes. That can be one of them. Other one is that you have something that is called endometriosis, remember? Or you have some, we mentioned it before. Remember that you asked me the question that you have something within your, well, did you hear about someone having something within the ovaries? You have cyst, not the cyst, the other one, something I forgot at this moment.
Fibroids?
Like what?
Fibroids?
No, no, oh, the fibroids, yes, that you have fibroids.
Mm-hmm.
So usually it's not the menstrual period. It's not, by no means is the menstrual period. It is some hormonal abnormalities that is causing you some bleeding, but actually it's not your placenta or your corpus luteum that is shredding down.
All right.
Yeah,
Thank you.
no problem. Okay, so we talk about these important things because remember, estrogen and progesterone is very important. Not to mention, because remember, females have certain period of time that they are fertile. Then they start the premenopause, then the menopause, and the postmenopause. So then no longer they're gonna ovulate. They no longer are gonna produce estrogen. So now you have to take some, estrogen or some other type of hormonal therapy. That is a different issue. So that's basically what's important about estrogen. So what things you need to know from here? You need to know what is the main hormone that is produced by the ovaries. Estrogen is the main one. Then progesterone is the other one. Because remember, progesterone mostly it is important because this is the one that is built in the placenta when you become pregnant. Estrogen is the one that removes the corpus luteum that has not become the placenta yet, and it's going to remove that every single month when you have your menstrual period. Remember, oogenesis is the production of the egg. Spermatogenesis is a lot easier because it's the production of sperm. But oogenesis, think about ova. That basically that's what it is. Okay. So let's talk about these fallopian tubes. So we already went over that image, which show you which ones are the fallopian tubes. And it says that it's attached to the uterus, to the upper part of the uterus. Yes, to the fundus. Now, at the end of the fallopian tubes, meaning the distal part of the fallopian tubes, is called the fimbrate. Now, the fimbrate is these finger-like structures. Remember, these are the ones that work as suction, like a vacuum, when the female releases their egg. So let's go back to that image again. Remember these finger-like structures right here on the distal part of the fallopian tubes? They start moving like this in kind of attracting the egg when it's released, and the egg right here and suck them in, so to speak. They just suction them inside, and then the egg start traveling. And if you happen to have sexual intercourse during those days, then you're gonna get fertilized here. And then the egg moves, and implants right here inside the uterus. That's why sometimes you have, an ectopic pregnancy because the egg start developing here and it doesn't move right here to the uterus. So again, it is those are important structures right here within, the female's reproductive. So these are the oviducts, fallopian tubes, or salpingo. Remember, these are the names. We are very familiar with fallopian tubes most of the time. So the surgical removal of these structures, we can call it oophorectomy. Remember, if you remove the uterus, if you remove the fallopian tubes, whatever you remove, because anything can be removed surgically. Remember, ectomy means removing something surgically. Let's move now, talk about this uterus, this very important structure, because this is where the baby, if you become pregnant, is going to hold the baby. It's going to house, let's put it away, it's going to house the baby. The baby cannot grow anywhere else than it's not the uterus. So if it is implanted somewhere else, meaning it's going to start growing somewhere else, not going to happen. So as I mentioned before, the uterus have three parts. Remember? The body, I would say first the fundus on top, the body in the middle, and the cervix on the lower part. So that's basically what it is. It says right here that lies in the pelvic cavity just behind the urinary bladder. And this is important, not because it's behind the urinary bladder, what it causes when the female becomes pregnant, because it's behind the urinary bladder. So when the female uterus start growing and growing and growing, what's gonna do? It's going to squeeze the urinary bladder. And that's what females that are pregnant, they go to pee all the time. They urinate very often because the uterus is growing, because the fetus is growing inside. And where is the uterus going to go? Poach the organs that are nearby, adjacent to it. And one of the organs that you're going to find there, the urinary bladder. So if I push against the urinary bladder, it's going to squeeze the urinary bladder. So the urinary bladder is going to contract and send urine. So you're going to feel like you want to pee. So these are the situations. So when you're pregnant and you pee a lot, it's not that you have a problem. It's not that you're sick. No. Oh, but I used to didn't pee that much. Well, I'm not peeing so much. I'm not drinking too much fluids anyways. No, it's because now the uterus, as your pregnancy advances from first trimester to second trimester, is larger and larger, pushes more and more, so you go to the bathroom more frequently. Make you pee a lot, but guess what? What it does to the digestive system? It's gonna constrict the colon, the large intestine. So now you're gonna develop constipation. See all the things that the females goes through just getting pregnant? A lot of things, right? So that's what you have to understand. You see, you're gonna have a patient gonna say, "Oh no, I have constipation problem." You see them pregnant, you immediately think what it is. You don't say it. If you become pregnant, you start peeing a lot, then you know already. Are you gonna be running to the doctor to tell them, "Oh my God, I'm dying"? No, I have constipation. I cannot move my bowels. But you're pregnant. You are in your second or third trimester. As the pregnancy advances, it becomes worse. It worsens. So that's what is important, these chapters, that you learn things for you. So when your patient comes in, you understand. So they said, oh, The doctor is going to order this. The doctor is going to order that. So you're prepared. And you're going to be on top of everything all the time. The uterus, see, has 3 layers of walls. The perimetrium, we mentioned this already. The myometrium, myo, muscle, miro. Endometrium, endo means inside, peri means outside, surrounding, above, inner layer, middle layer, outer layer. It is important that you know myometrium, endometrium. Why? Because endometriosis. It's important that you know the cervix because of pap smear. If uterus is being removed, it's called hysterectomy because hyster is uterus. Ectomy is surgical removal. For those who took medical terminology, you know more likely what I'm talking about. For those who hasn't, no worries. When it comes the time, your professor will discuss that. Okay, so that's basically what it is. So we went over this already on this part. See, we have right here the fundus, which is this part where the upper part, see, where the fallopian tubes are attached. Then you have the body, and then you have this part right here that is called the cervix, and then this part that we're going to talk later on, because this is not part, the vagina is not part of the uterus. We talk about the fallopian tubes, see? We talk about the ovaries. Then we're going to talk about the other ones and the external genitalia, and that's going to be it. So putting all this together just, give you a better understanding. Remember, if you understand your structures, your body structures, your body organs, you're going to be able to understand conditions. When the doctor tells you something, you said, oh, then I have problems with this or that. Now I know. It's not that you're going to become a doctor. That's not the point. This is not a class for that. But to make you aware, to make you conscious about your body, how to respond to certain things, when to actually, run to the emergency, when not. When it's something that is serious, something that it's not that serious, but still need to be evaluated by a medical doctor. See, next, the vagina. It is a structure. It's like a tube. So it's located in between the urinary bladder and the rectum. So that's why when we need to evaluate the rectum or something like that, well, or the urinary bladder, they put the fingers through the rectum, whether it's males, whether it's females. Says right here is the birth canal for the normal vaginal delivery. Remember, normal vaginal delivery is that your baby was born natural. Otherwise, it's a C-section or cesarean section. That you're going to be open up right there by the pelvic area and remove the baby through there. So that's basic. So it's a very important structure. So during the urinary system, we're going to talk about something different because we're going to add a little something to this. For now, we're just going to talk about this accessory or supporting sex glands. So here we have the first one, the Bartholin's glands. Bartholin's was the medical doctor. So again, you don't have to know all these, like for exam purposes, but it's part of the structures that we have to mention. And what is it that they do, their function? This is very important, their function. These are the glands that are located close to the labia minora, which is the one inside that connects with the vagina. And what is the major part about this? That they secrete this lubricant, this mucus-like. So without this mucus, your vulva, the lips, they will be dry and it will bleed. This is like when our lips becomes kind of dry. So they are very important. So that's basically what it is. They are within the labias. So that's basically what it is. That's what they are important because they lubricate this labia, all those lips look alike structures. The minora, which is inside, the majora, which is on the outside. Then we have another gland, which is the breast. This is called the lacteriferous. Lactose means milk because they produce milk through the nipples. But this happens when the female becomes pregnant because the female is preparing to nurture the baby after. So that's basically what it is, nothing else. We should not go over anything else because not good. Now, what it says right there is like lymphatic drainage, important in spread of cancer. So this is part of the lymphatic system. And whenever we have lymph nodes, lymphatic fluid, like breasts, female's breasts, axilla, these areas are very prone for cancer development. And it's very common breast cancer. So that's actually what they're talking about there. But for the purpose of the class, just think about it is a gland of the reproductive system because when the female becomes pregnant, these glands start to become active. So these lacteriferous glands becomes active. And the female feels like the breast kind of enlarges and it becomes very tender. That's one indication also sometimes when you start having changes in your breast that you might be worried about being pregnant. So that's basically it. So these are the accessory glands, the Bartholin's glands and the breast. Let's talk about the external genitalia. Just like we talk about the external genitalia in males, we're going to talk about females. So we're going to talk about the mons pubis. What is the mons pubis? This area right here on the inguinal area with all these hair grows. That's basically what it is. We had an image on the next slide. Very graphic, if you will. But the textbook has it in, well, we have to show it. The clitoris, the urethra, particularly the orifice of the urethra, meaning the opening of the urethra. See, the Bartholin glands, the labia minora and majora. Remember the lips, the majora are the big lips on the outside, the minora the ones in the inside that connects with the vagina. Then we have this external part that is called the perineum. which is this little piece of skin, if you will, that connects the anal canal with the opening of the vagina. Remember, this is this structure that sometimes when the patients are, when the female is too narrow, too kind of, yeah, the opening of the vagina is too narrow, doesn't dilate too much. So the head of the baby cannot pass during childbirth. We have to incise that, to cut that. That is called episiotomy. So think about, write this down, episiotomy. This is a surgical procedure when we have this portion of skin that separates the anal canal from the opening of the vagina. It is called episiotomy. Then we have to put stitches back right there after the baby is born. Because if we don't do it, then the baby is not going to come out. The baby doesn't have oxygen, and the baby might die, or the baby might have mental problems if we don't remove it immediately. So we have to cut that. So here is the image. Once, once again, very graphic, but it is what it is. So this area right here with all these hair growths is called the mons pubis. So this part right here, it is the clitoris. This part here is the labia majora. The one inside is the labia minora. And this is the opening of the vagina. This is the opening of the orifice of the urethra. See, the difference between the males and females urethra is that the female's urethra is separated from the opening of the vagina. See, for the males to pee, they use the same urethra that passes through the penis. When they ejaculate, passes through the same place. The female doesn't, because during intercourse is through the vagina, not through the urethra. See this piece right here? This is called the perineum. Right here, this is the anal canal, and this is the opening of the vagina. So when the females, it doesn't dilate that, or it's too stretched, this area doesn't dilate enough during childbirth, we have to cut this and make more room for the head of the baby to pass through. That's called episiotomy, remember. All those things are important to know. Then the doctor puts stitches right here. And that's it. But you have your baby, normal vaginal delivery. Any questions about the males, females, sternogenitalia? Any questions about anything? Okay, so we finish with this chapter. We're not gonna continue. Today's Friday. It's like 10 minutes to 9. So we're just gonna leave it here. Once again, if you have any questions, you can ask me. Related to anything we have discussed up to now, or any concerns about anything else that you may have from the class. If you have no questions, no concerns, no inputs, nothing, no complaints, then, we're going to leave it right here. And, I wish you guys have a wonderful weekend because we're not going to have a class tomorrow, remember? And enjoy your weekend if you can. Still, the weather is not bad, it's not too cold, so try to enjoy before winter time.
Thank you
And we
so
will be
much.
returning next week, same time, same channel, probably same teacher, same students, or maybe more students, who know. All right. Thank you so much for attending the class, for participating. See, just loosen up. When you have a question, ask. I mean, if I don't know the answer, I'm not going to tell you anything. If I know it, well, I will tell you whatever things I know around there. Okay?
All right. Good night, Professor. Good night, everyone.
Good night. Good night. Thank you. Thank you. Take care,
Good
guys.
night.
Good
Okay.
night. Enjoy your weekend. Stay out of trouble.
Good
Don't drink and
night.
drive. Good night. Don't drink and drive. Bring the drinks to me. I sell it because I don't drink either.